Okay. I'm going to try this yet again without too much hope and say, Happy Friday night, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. Nothing is working. Um, can you see me at all? I'm going to just hold here for a second because I'm not having any luck with logging on. I'm going to pretend again that this is working and say, hey, everybody, happy Friday. Welcome back. It's great to see you. It will be great to see you if I feel like I am live. Oh, you can see me. Okay. Could you see me before, like the last 3 times, or is this the first time so far you saw me? The only reason I worry is because I have logged on multiple times, and now those 2-minute videos are going to be live tonight for people logging on late. They're going to log on and not know which one to log on to. But I can't fix it without logging off. So I'm not going to log off. Okay, great. Oh, let's see if I can change my mood now. That was not good. That was not a good start. Nothing was working at all. Like nothing was working. I could see you all in my thread. Nothing was working. The camera didn't work. None of my photos would open. None of the other panels on my dashboard opened. Never happened before. So I'm wondering, are we done with this program? Are we ready for a different program? Because it's just been way too much lately. Okay. Woo! Happy Friday night, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. It is great to see you. Happy Easter weekend. Let me know if anything goes wrong, because so far this has been a disastrous thread trying to get on. Sorry about that. I got to remember, let me make a note to myself that as soon as we end this thread, I have got to go and delete all of the previous threads, because people will go on and think that was the show, me going on there and possibly saying bad words. Okay, delete previous threads. No idea what happened. Great to see you. Happy Easter weekend, everybody. Whew, alrighty, let's get into it. I'm going to switch gears. I honestly thought this was absolutely impossible. I don't like it when this happens and I don't know what went wrong, because I can't anticipate it and I can't like guard against it next time it happens. Just nothing opened. Alrighties. Well, April, it's great to see you. Happy Friday night. Happy cocktail night in Illinois. Becky, great to see you. Good evening from windy Indiana. Time to look at some rugs. There are so many rugs in the show tonight as well. It's crazy. I didn't realize I had so many rugs left to show from the Maine trip. It's crazy. I gotta have a drink of water now. I think I need like a shot of whiskey, really. I didn't realize I took so many pictures of rugs, and then I have some extra pictures in the slideshow that are like comparative pictures. We'll see what we can do tonight. It's a big show. Cheryl, great to see you. Cheers, my dears, to you, and happy Easter. We are pretty much all set on this end. I've got this Easter egg hunt that I'm in charge of at the church, and it's remarkably complicated. Isn't that surprising? Actually, it's not, is it? It is. I'm a little bit surprised. We're doing it in conjunction with another organization that is across the field. And our biggest problem right now is because I've staked out markers to say oldest kids run the furthest, and like medium, middle school kids run a little less far, and elementary kids a little bit less far, and all the way to like toddlers. Like there's 5 stakes that tell you where to run to, so that to prevent the big teenage kids and high school kids from scooping up all the eggs right at the beginning, where only the babies can get to. So I'm trying to create a distance situation where we all start at the same time. But now that there's other people joining us from across the field, so the question becomes, from what side do we start? And do we do it like in sort of reverse in the middle of the field, starting from our respective sides? Everything has been a tangle tonight. So we've got to have fun now, because my brain is just fried. Oh, Mom, good to see you. Happy Friday night. Happy cocktail night. I hope your day went well after I left. Great to be with you, too. Melanie, good to see you in sunny, warm Washington. Happy Friday night. Linda, cheers, my dears, on Friday night. Clicking the glasses. Great to see you. Welcome back. Melissa, I just saw one of your posts a minute ago, and I thought, I've got to send a message. We haven't chatted for a while. Hello to you, too, listening to the birds, thinking about cold pizza and a glass of wine. So happy to be there. All right. We're going to have a great night. I promise. That was just a very rocky start. Catherine, great to see you. Cheers, my dears, with your pretzel and your beer. Happy Friday night. Diane, great to see you. You were waiting for your dinner guest. Oh, to leave. Oh no. So you could hop on. That's funny. It all worked out. It worked out fine. For me too. Karen, great to see you. Hello from cold and snowy Black Forest, Colorado. It feels like the temperature is 17 degrees. That's, oh no, you've got to be kidding. I hope you're all having better weather than we are. I think this is our 5th winter this year. Oh, that is crazy. You know, I heard here in Connecticut it's going to be 89 degrees tomorrow. Mom, you told me that? I mean, that is like, that's scary. That's scary. That pendulum swung way too far in a short time. Holy moly, are any of the plants going to survive this year? Okay, great. Thank you for responding. Thank you all for responding. That was awful. Joyce, great to see you. Happy cocktail night. Finally, a beautiful day in Pennsylvania. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Okay, Sharon, hi. Gail, hello, and happy Easter to you too. Lena, great to see you. Happy Friday. Sue's happy Friday. Great to see you, everybody. I love all the little chicks, the Easter bunnies. That already put me in a better mood. I'll tell you. All I need are a few emojis of chickens and eggs, and like all of the stuff at the computer just goes away. Thank you so much. So, welcome back. And tonight we are looking at, I was tempted to do a different show tonight, and did I have the book with me? I got a book in the mail today that I ordered. Winifred Nicholson. Did you see that book? It just came out. For me, it just arrived today. It's been on pre-order for like a year. I think we'll look at that on Monday. It's a beautiful UK artist. It's a hooking book, a hardcover, brand new. We'll look at that. Maybe I'll write to her over the weekend and see if possibly she could log on with us. But I think we'll do that on Monday. I decided to stick. Dave, oh, dang it. You got there first. I was going to make a prediction and I would have been wrong. I was going to say, I forgot. I was going to say, I wonder if Dave is having hard cider and a pulled pork sandwich, but I would have been wrong on both counts. Welcome back and happy Friday night. So yeah, we'll do that on Monday. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see if I can reach her over the weekend. It is Easter weekend, but still, let's see what we can do. And I thought, why don't we return tonight to our conversation from Monday? Because over the weekend, this past weekend, I was in Maine and I was speaking to the Tin Peddlers Guild, but I took some little side trips, little junkets, and I visited some antique stores, particularly on the way home. And oh my gosh, not to make anybody sad or jealous, but there are a ridiculous amount of rugs in Maine, just laying there on the floor, waiting to be taken up. And I took pictures of tons and tons of them. I bought 3 of them. I showed you the bird in the last show, and I bought 2 others that I'll share with you in this episode. And you know what? I want to get right into it because there are that many images. Now, I think I'm going to start one back from where we left off on Monday. Hey, do you remember I was looking at this on Monday and I said, oh, you know what? I just realized it's a Clare Murray. I didn't realize when I was lifting it up, and I should have because it's yarn. So that should have been something of a clue, I wasn't interested in it when I saw it. I liked it. I wanted to take a picture so I could show it to you, but I wasn't super interested in it personally because I thought, oh, it's very cute. It's very 80s, 90s. It's very cute, but I have lots and lots, and I don't particularly need this one. But then when we were looking at it together on Monday, do you remember I noticed it said CM, and I thought, oh, it is a Clare Murray. Okay. And I looked for it here and there over the last few days. It is not on the internet at all. I should have gotten it. I would not have flipped it, right? just can't be bothered with stuff like that. But it makes me sad that it's such a rare one and I didn't pick it up, and I don't even remember. It was somewhere on Route 1. I don't even remember what store it was at. So I feel like an idiot because it would have been a nice thing to own, right? Just for the sake of owning something super rare. Because when I thought about it, I thought, you know what? I know, Karen, it's great. It's just, I just couldn't find it on the internet. It's not just like not on eBay and actively for sale. It's just not there. So it made me think, dang it, do I need to take a trip to Maine and just retrace my steps? But I did think, I do want to be a bit more savvy about Clare Murray rugs because I know not everybody loves Clare Murray's the most. And I think part of the reason for that is that in the 80s and 90s, she became so popular, so famous, right? So famous, so popular, so wealthy, so successful when she left her job in, I think it was like art and advertising in Manhattan, and moved to Nantucket, where one of her neighbors was a rug hooker, and she took up rug hooking. And to this day, she's not on Nantucket, she's on mainland Cape Cod. She lives in a few different places, but to this day, she only does larger rugs. She doesn't do small rugs. She wraps it around the backing, burlap, still burlap. She wraps the burlap around her lap, and she doesn't use a frame or a hoop. She just hooks it right around her legs. And, you know, over the years, there's been so many people who say, like, yeah, that's not really rug hooking. Well, it is really rug hooking. She hooked all of her rugs, and then they were reproduced because the designs became so popular. But she hooked all of those prototypes. She made those, and that's why they were able to be reproduced, you know. So I mean, I love her and I love her work. I still want to go visit her. We have such problems finding places to cross because she's not here often. Cecile, great to see you. Oh, you went to her store on the Cape last summer, the one on 6A in Barnstable? I think that's the only one that's left. She's one of your favorites. Me too. She reminds me of the design of that time, and I'm like, I grew up with that style of design. I have her mugs. I have a Clare Murray jacket. I still have like a blazer. I have her magazines, right? I have her hardcover book that she put out. I love her work. And the fact that if you call her store, she'll tell you about this rug. You know, I think I will. I'm often in touch with her assistant, David, and we're always trying to find a time to get together. It's always like I'm away or she's away, and we just can't seem to get it together. But yeah, I'd love to go and talk to her about a bunch of her rugs. I do have some others, and I really regret not getting this because it made me think, which other, just for all of us, which other Clare Murray rugs might we encounter that are worth having? Because I think we tend to think about her rugs as like, you know, sailboats and nautical scenes, and they are. But those are the ones that are not super valuable because those are the very common ones. So let's take a quick flip through some of her, what I found to be the most rare rugs and ones that you go, oh my God, that's a Clare Murray rug. Because if you see these out in the wild, they are going to be well worth getting. Whether you want to keep them or if you're not adverse to flipping or listing them on one of the rug hooking sites, you know, some of them are worth a lot of money, like over $1,000, right? So this one I don't know the value because I haven't seen it sell, but this is a Raggedy Ann and Andy. And this is a Clare Murray. You see down below, the signature is a little bit faded for the C, but it's the connected cursive CM. So weirdly enough, you wouldn't think it. This cannot be one of the more popular designs. It's very cute. It's just for a kid's room, right? Because her rugs are really meant to be rugs. We've got Raggedy Andy, and we've got this village green scene, which I think is spectacular. And it's not one of the 3 or 4 village greens that she's done that are very, very well known and reproduced in huge numbers. No, this is very different. This is more like a city square or like a village center, not so much of a village green, but like a village center. This one is super rare. This is another one. I haven't seen a sold price for this. This would be one to pick up because it's extremely rare. It's not just that it's rare, it still has that Clare Murray look, but it's very subdued, right? So it doesn't, for people who like Clare Murray and like the look, but they don't live on the ocean and they don't want sort of nautical feeling stuff at home, this would be a good one to get, right? I mean, because this is a sort of universal look. This would be a great one to get. It's a large one. This is a runner that I have never seen before until I started searching today. And this is a 2-way runner that would go in a little hallway, down, upstairs, downstairs, whatever. It's not a stair tread thing. It's a runner. And this is another Clare Murray that I've never seen. This is definitely her early phase where she did a lot of checkerboards, a lot of country hearts, a lot of quilt motifs like little triangle, flying geese triangle, and then the stars, right? Her early phase was filled with these very country motifs. These are super rare. This one is on eBay right now. I noticed one person bid on it. It's just, look up Clare Murray. It is a little bit faded, but I have never seen this rug. And it's not, I can't remember what it was. It's not super high priced right now. To me, this isn't like one of the most stunning rugs. It's a pretty landscape. It's nice. It's nice to have down. But in terms of amazing graphic design, like, you know, what she's known for, this isn't exactly what she's known for. Nautical harbor scenes of Nantucket, yes. And this is Nantucket because that's the church. But it's not exactly her look. So while I think this is very collectible because it's rare, I don't think it's going to be one of the most collectibles because I don't think that a lot of people are going to want this one. It's not Clare Murray enough, if you know what I mean. But if you start thinking about Clare and thinking, I want to get the rare ones. I only want to collect the rare ones, right? Not the flower baskets and cats, but the rare ones. 2 King Charles Spaniels. This is another one I've never seen before. You know, we've been seeing a lot of artists lately doing stuff like this. There was an article in Rug Hooking Magazine, an artist doing this sort of, flocked wallpaper, historical wallpaper design in the background with animals. That's very like this rug. This is another one I just couldn't find prices for what they've been selling for. This one is a little bit more common, but not common. This one I see a lot as a kit, but I don't think I've seen it as a finished rug before. So I think this is like maybe $165, that kind of price point on eBay right now. I love this rug. I would love to have this rug for the wall, but I see it a lot as a kit, as a rug hooking kit and as a latch hook kit. So that's interesting to know too, because this is her early period of heavy borders. Like the swans with this is like a paper folded in half, isn't it? Welcome, friends. And it's a welcome mat that's not shaped like a demi, half moon. So that's unusual. She's got quite a few patterns here, including the water lilies. Super unusual, right? This is a really oddball one. I have to say, I really love this one. Yeah, I'm reading your comments too. Now, this is a very rare one as well. You know, she did a lot with fairy tales and nursery rhymes. She did a lot with like Sunbonnet Sue and Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary, and also Mary Had a Little Lamb. This is bears, right? This isn't the 3 bears, right? We got definitely 4 bears here, but this is like a fairy tale style rug. This is currently, I don't know if this is on eBay or an auction site. I found this today for $1,500 plus shipping. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you collect Clare Murray and you're a diehard, you probably have never seen this one before. And is it worth $1,500? Well, it is at this moment because it's the only one on the internet, right? I've never seen this at all. So a lot of hers are going to work like this, and I just think it's interesting to know that, because when you are looking in stores and stuff and you see a rug and you see the CM and you think, oh, it's Clare Murray, this is another one that's extremely rare. This has damage, so it wouldn't sell for as much. It's a little bit damaged around the edge and it's a little bit stained, but it's another cute design. And I don't know how many people are out there who are like, I want to own all of them. This is my collection. Some of these are going to be like rare as hen's teeth and very, very hard to find. And I'm afraid I walked away from one of them, the pig, right? Now, I just want to point this out to you that when you see the Clare Murray rugs, the back has glue. So when you look at the front and you think, oh, it's not in bad condition, like we can do this, let's do this. It's super. You open up your phone and you look and you go, yeah, I can't find this one. I can't find any record of this one having sold. Neither could I. So this is a good one to pick up. You do have to remember, if you want, obviously, if you're buying something online, you want to know the condition really close up, right? And I think this one was under 200, but I might be wrong. It's a lot for a little rug, right? It's a lot for a little rug that was commercially made, right? So the problem is, you're looking at it, right? This is the back of these rugs. And this is the case whether you collect Clare Murray's or other designers who have been mass produced. And you might say to yourself, and you're quite right to say to yourself, it is mass produced, but I love the designer. And this reminds me of growing up. This reminds me of home. This reminds me of 2 houses ago. I love them, right? Regardless of what the world thinks they're worth, I love them, and they make me happy when they're near me, so I want all of them. The one thing that you have to think about with these commercially made rugs is this, because they are glued, right? And the problem with that is that if you look at the front and you say, okay, so there's a couple of loops missing, or they got maybe a dog or a cat was scratching on it and pulled some through, and the wool is there, right? The yarn is there, and you could pull it back, except you can't because it's glued. So this can be a problem. If you're looking at a Clare Murray on the front and thinking, you know what, it's just a few little things. I can make it perfect again, and then I want to display it on my wall. And the problem is, it's hard to get through that glue. It's not impossible, but it's not for sure, right? So if there's like a patch and there's some loss or some of it's pulled through, It's likely that you can get through the glue and fix it and pull it through, but it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed at all, right? Some of these rugs with glue, it is like hard as a rock, right? It's like sediment, right? It's like a layer of the earth. There's no getting through it. So, you could spend time on it. You could try to sort of weasel a little hole and start pulling things through. But at the end of the day, if there's multiple things that need doing, it's going to be difficult slash impossible. It's going to be somewhere in there, and no guarantee. So, do you remember seeing glue on the pig rug? I'm sure I did, Karen. I'm sure I did. Because I think that's one of the things that put me off. I'm sure I did because the pig rug was folded like several times and over a rung of a ladder. And I took it off the ladder because I remember thinking it's crunchy because it's hard. And if it's folded like that, that's not good for the rug, right? It's like cracking the glue in the back. So if the glue cracks in the back, it could crack fabric too, right? It could take the material with it. So I took it off this is how I know that it was glued. And also all the Clare Murrays are glued, unless they're actually handmade. Like somebody bought a kit and they made it and then they sold it and you found it at the antique store. If it's a Clare Murray that was made by her factories, been in different places over the years, it will be glued on the back. So you might at some point be lucky and find one that, for example, the neighbor made, right? And then it somehow made its way to the antique store, and you find that one, and that one doesn't have glue on the back. But all of the ones that were sold in her store and online will have them on the back. Will have the glue. Ruth, good to see you. Happy Friday night. I had a rough start, so I'm glad you're here. Things are evening out a little bit better now. It was a very bad start with technology. But yeah, definitely glue on the back. So it's something to think about. So I guess what I'm saying is if you see a rug that you like and that you love and it's inexpensive and it's or expensive and in great shape, you should get it. If you see a rug that's not in great shape and you think, I bet I'm the person who can fix this rug, you might, but you might not be able to. And it's not because of skill. It's because of how much glue is on there, how fossilized the glue has become. There's not a lot of possibilities when something. That's why we say no glue in this business, because number one, it does not need to be glued. The loops are not going to fall out. It does not need to be glued. The Clare Murray ones that were made by machine, for example, in Asia, those are on monk's cloth. The ones in her kits are on burlap, right? They're all on burlap. But the ones that were manufactured are on cotton, monk's cloth. So those don't need glue. The backing was already tight. And what we have now, how long ago was the 80s, 90s? 40 to 50 years ago, right? 50 years later, we now have rugs that are almost valueless in terms of condition because they cannot be repaired. That's not a good exchange, right? Oh, well, I have insurance now that the loops won't pull out because I glued the back of it, but now the rug is ruined and it can't be fixed. So something to think about when you're making purchases here. Glad to see you too, Ruth. Happy Friday. So I thought that was interesting, and looking at that pig rug brought me down this little rabbit hole. And made me think about that and made me realize that I wanted to say that, because you can't just discount. We want to be as open-minded in this craft as we can because we want this craft to endure, right? That we want there to be a legacy to rug hooking, and we have to change our conversations about it. So you see a hooked rug in a store, and maybe you live in an area where there's not that many, and it's a commercially made hooked rug. Maybe you like the design. We have to stop the dialogue of like, that's not worth anything. These are Clare Murray rugs, right? Some of them are worth over 1,000. I bet you some of them are worth 5,000 because of their rarity and good condition. We have to stop repeating the same things because things change and people discover her and they love her and her rugs become worth more. The biggest problem is you can't restore them generally. Just like we have to change the dialogue about what we do as rug hookers, right? With everything changing in the economy and the world, there's a lot of things changing. We're not going to start any of that stuff. But I will say, we just don't know where we stand with stuff in the future. It might be difficult to get things we're used to having. It might be. Maybe we shouldn't be so reliant on door wool, right, that is imported from the UK. I don't know anything that you don't know, except I know that my kind of wool that I stock is not going to be in stock for a month. That's all I know. But that's nothing new. There's often a problem with supply and demand. But I'm just saying it behooves us to think, well, I'm going to cut up this t-shirt and I'm going to hook with this sucker because, you know, you have to be flexible in this craft. And luckily it is the craft that is about being flexible. That's what it's built on. Cecile says, Claire's 6-ply cabled wool yarn blossoms with each stitched hook. It's a dream to hook with. Absolutely. Her yarn is absolutely beautiful. It's got a little bit of a twist to it. It's thick. It comes up a dream. You're absolutely right. I often see in this part of the country, particularly on Cape Cod, bags at yard sales that's like a half-finished rug with like tons and tons of yarn. Now you can buy that yarn from her studio still. I don't know if you can buy it online. Maybe you can. But they still make the yarn, sell the yarn, and now they make the hooks again that say Clare Murray. And they make some of the old patterns, the most popular ones. It's an interesting piece of our rug hooking history, right? And it's great to think about and talk about it in the summertime, isn't it? All right, so, and just a quick return to this rug, because we looked at this one when we were closing up right before we closed up the episode, and this is like a one rose wonder, isn't it? I was kind of jammed into the stall at the end of the row, and I saw this rug, and had this big Walterboro rose on it, and we were talking about a little bit, and a couple of people wrote and said, you know, who do you think the designer is? It's impossible to say. This could be an original design. I don't think it is. It could be, but I just want to show you how many rugs there are with one flower. It's very hard to know. No, Ruth, you're right. Nothing wrong with hooking with t-shirt material, wool yarn, any yarn, acrylic yarn, fancy yarn, any yarn, pantyhose, plastic bags, you know, anything that you enjoy hooking with, right? That's the thing. So many patterns that have one rose, two roses, and the way that people adapt them over the years, this is a 2-rose one, right? Can look very different. So while this rug looks like this, right, it could be that this pattern actually had 2 more roses in it. I don't know. It's very hard to call because the rose rugs are so similar, and often the borders are so similar. And it brings us to this place of, unless the rug is done absolutely authentically like you find in a catalog, and you can say, okay, it's a Garrett Bluenose, right? Or okay, this is a Louise Zeiser. This is an heirloom rug, the brand Heirloom. Sometimes it's real hard to call. Sometimes there's something going on, like a border like this, and the border is very telling, and you go, oh, that's very Greek, isn't it? That border. It is very Greek. I wonder if that border is supposed to be on, because isn't it odd that the leaves on the bottom flower are actually touching the border? I can't help but think either the person, and I don't want to say screwed up, right? Because it's beautiful, it's unique, it's an original piece of art. But I can guarantee you, if this is a commercial pattern, that on the drawing, those leaves were not touching that border. That's like, I would bet a lot of money on that. So even something like this could be an original design, or the person could have adapted it and said, I saw a border like this and I prefer that. It looks much grander than just a plain single border. So it's so hard to call with some of these rugs, because most people did work with commercial patterns, right? Whether they bought into the whole paint by number thing and were like, okay, I can see that the thing is numbered. It tells you where you're supposed to put the colors. Go ahead and give me the corresponding colors, because I'll probably never figure it out. If you bought into that, then it's going to look like the one in the catalog and a lot of other people's. If you didn't buy into that, and you probably bought the pattern, right? Because earlier in the 20th century, some people are doing original patterns, but by far most people are not. So some people are adapting patterns or adding to patterns, but most people are starting with a commercial pattern. They're not making it difficult on themselves and saying, okay, let me find someplace that stocks plain burlap, right? As opposed to a pattern. So most people are starting with the original pattern, but a lot of people are changing them. And then we've got mutations of designs, and it really leaves you wondering lots of things about whether it's a commercial pattern or an adapted pattern. And with things like flowers, it's very, very hard. It's very hard to know. For example, with this piece, and you remember this from the last show, I just fell in love with this piece, not because of the design, but because it had this glow to it. For me, the colors really got me. I didn't get this. I didn't get any of the ones that you've seen. Many of them were so dirty. This was the one that was actually damp. Just made me nervous, you know. But it did make me think of that shape, right? When you look at that kind of scalloped shape, in the last pattern, the one that you just saw on the floor, it reminded me of like a toll painted tray. And it's like, oh yeah, that is the shape, isn't it? But then you see this one and you think, oh, could this have been the same design or very similar design, but it's done completely differently without that border around the scallop design, right? Interesting. This one is this. I mean, this isn't a showstopper, but it's an interesting rug because you can see the person ran out of color all over the place, and they plugged in white, like really white. Like the background is this vanilla creamy color, but they did a lot with really white. So interesting. And then when you start thinking about looking for rugs that have this clamshell thing, you stumble onto stuff like this. This was $86. This is on Etsy right now. Another interesting rug, because it's like, wait a minute, is this rug one of the designs that we just saw, but somebody attached material to both ends and just made it longer, like a full size, like hearth size rug? Maybe. I mean, why not? The idea of having a rug, right? Say it's on your burlap. Where's burlap? Do I have burlap anywhere? I have rugs all over the place. Let's pretend that this piece of fiber tape is burlap, right? Here's my rug, right? This is the Jossie's crab. Here's my rug, and here's my design. My design is on the rug, but I would like it to be longer. Well, if I put a piece of material here, and let's pretend it's the same size, and a piece here, right? And then when I get to those seams, I stitch through 2 layers. Well, I've got a much larger rug, right? And are you going to see that I added to it? Nope, because I stitched through both layers, right? You could baste something like this together with a running stitch and then just hook through all of the layers you've got going. I wouldn't do more than 2 layers. It's going to get too hard. But 2 layers is nothing. 2 layers is like same as one. So this is something else that could be happening. People saying, well, I do have a feed sack and I would like a bigger rug. And then we end up with a pattern that is a weird shape. Like, I mean, hey, maybe this is the shape of this rug, but I kind of doubt it just because it's not a good shape, is it? Unless they left something out. And judging by how sort of naive the hooking is on this, is it charming? Oh, it's charming. Is it sweet? Oh, it's so sweet. I love the shapes of the flowers. I think they left out quite a few flowers, right? Is you getting that vibe too? And I feel like it was a smaller rug that has been enlarged with extra pieces of material, mostly because that center field I would think would be a little bit more proportionate to the rectangle. If the rectangle was indeed the original shape, right? It seems like it's just a little bit wrong in several ways. But interesting, maybe not. The fact that they didn't hook all the flowers on this one, interesting, isn't it? I don't know. You don't know unless you're flowers on a cloud. Yeah, it feels like that. That'd be a great name for this rug too. You know, somebody did some really graphic stuff here and they put some little flowers around the edges and it's super cute. The hit or miss background was super cute. You see at the top part of this rug, it's like they thought they had a little more brown and they were doing a bit more of a regular thing with it, or maybe vice versa. But they realized at one point how far the material went, and it was already hooked, right? So this is one of those early 20th century rugs where the person thought, yeah, no, I'm not taking it out just to move more dark brown to the other side of the rug. The rug is done. I'm moving on with my life. But this is the kind of sweet charm that we see in rugs of the early 20th century. At this moment, these kinds of rugs that I'm showing you right here are not super valuable rugs. They're early 20th century rugs. They aren't the first rugs. They aren't 1880s rugs. So they're not valuable yet. But it could be that as time goes on, right, that even these kinds of rugs that we think of, like, I'm sorry to say it, but like a dime a dozen, it might be that they become very valuable, right? It depends on whether rug hooking has a true renaissance or not. We're working on it, and I have every faith that it will. Now, this is a different item altogether, and this is an interesting thing. This is a hooked knee, like a kneeler. It's for your knees. They're called kneelers. You use these in church. And in some churches, people would do. It was very, very common in the UK. You know, the sewing group that was associated with the parish would do needlepoint kneelers for the whole church, right? Like every church was almost like this unspoken understanding that you must have kneelers for the congregants, and the women would set about doing that. It's a less common thing in the US, although, occasionally around New England, you do see these old congregations that still have kneelers, use kneelers, or that people brought their own kneeler. So, you would bring your own if you had like maybe a box pew and you would leave it there. And that was your pew. Nobody would take your kneeler and you could make it however you want. It could be comfortable and soft every time you went down on your knees, and it would be your own design, right? So it serves many purposes. Kneelers are extremely rare. This one I think was like 95, and this is a 19th century rug. So this is something really specific. I should have taken a picture from this side, but it basically looks like a footstool, but lower, right? Just shorter. This is an interesting piece, and like all of the pieces that, oh, Judy, you logged on. Great to see you. Fabulous kneelers in the National Cathedral in DC. Judy, are they needlepoint? I'm guessing they must be needlepoint, right? I'm going to have to check that out. I'm going to write that down, actually. The National Cathedral. I'm just writing that sucker down in DC. Yes. Oh, I'd love to see those. Judy, do they have like a theme, or are they all totally different? They're not identical, are they? These are interesting because there's two things going on here. This is a small piece of history. For example, do a search, if you're interested, do a search on the internet and look up hooked rug kneeler. Guess how many you're going to find? One, and it's this one. And this is probably a 1980s or 90s kneeler that was done for bride and groom. So this is, I would expect this to be much bigger than the kneeler that you were just looking at, because that was for one person in church. This was for two people to kneel next to each other at a wedding. This is the only kneeler that I could find. Oh, themes for each area and or the chapel. Oh, that's so cool. I'd love to see that, Judy. That sounds wonderful. This is a different kind of kneeler. So Karen says, my grandmother made many needlepoint kneelers for her Episcopal church. Yep, see, making needlepoint kneelers is very common, but making hooked kneelers is not common. So on the one hand, it's like, ooh, I'm a rug hooker. I would like to, maybe I'm also a church person. It happens that I am. It turns out I would like to have some kneelers. Well, there's not very many to be had, right? There's only one online. So, and the other one was at this place in Maine that I saw. And again, I think I'm going to go back to the one that I spotted. This is definitely, I can't put this before like the 1980s. There's no way this is the 1970s. I would say 80s, 90s, or even later. This is a 19th century kneeler. And the reason I didn't get it, it wasn't like it was a huge price tag. You guess to yourself what the main reason would be that this would, at least from my point of view or one's point of view, why would a kneeler be less desirable than, for example, a different form of hooked rug like a rug, right? Obviously, it's because it's clunky, and how are you going to display it? With the rug, you might put it on the floor or you might put it on a wall like art. But with a kneeler, unless you have multiple, I mean, maybe you set it up in some kind of vignette and you've got it sideways. But if you have it on its feet, you can't see the design. If you have it on the floor, you could see the design. But are there a lot of places you can think of? Maybe your place is bigger than mine. But I would trip over this if it were like in the middle of the floor. And or someone might put their feet on it. This is a 19th century piece. So I looked at it, I marveled at it, I thought, this is really charming, but where would it go? Where would I put it? Like honestly, where would I put it? One thought would be like a bookshelf, put it sideways on a bookshelf, right? It would take up like the whole bookshelf, but at least you'd be able to look at it if you loved it. The other thing I was worried about, and it's not an impossible problem, was I wondered how long it had been in this store, and I wondered if it had like moths. I thought, well, if I get it, it's going to go straight into the cooler when I get home. There was a few things going on. I just wasn't sure, and it wasn't compelling enough. I didn't have a vision for how to display it. I knew that I would have to put it in the freezer for a while if I brought it home because I don't trust it. So there were a few things going on, but I'm really hoping that the right person finds this and says, I have other hooked kneelers. I can't believe I found this, right? You hope that that person stumbles into this store. Judy says, there are many books of needlepoint kneelers. You could adapt the patterns for hooking. Absolutely, that's a great idea. You could absolutely adapt the patterns for hooking. Now, you think of Remy Levesque in Nova Scotia at the Barishois Church, and how he just did the project, right? The 50, the USA 50, right? The 50 US pillows, but then all of the other world pillows in the Barishois Church. Those are pillows on the pews. That's just a variation of doing kneelers, right? It's just a variation. It's having fiber art, beautiful, decorative, warm, and tactile inside a church space. And many of these church spaces are a little, at least here in New England, they're a little bit bare and cold, and that's on purpose, right? That's on purpose. You weren't supposed to be there and be comfortable. You definitely weren't supposed to be comfortable. So just bringing a little bit of comfort, and a little bit of color, and into the church space is something that people have always tried to do, but there's so few hookers out there historically compared to needlepoint artists. So we don't see these very often, and for that reason, I thought this is interesting. You know, everything I saw was interesting, as you can see Monday's show and then again in today's show. In the same store, this is a different, I was in a different store for these last few. I saw this piece, and this was really large. You might think like, you know, it's just like a geometric. It is just a geometric, but it was really unusual in person. It's probably not coming across well on the monitor, but it really was extremely colorful. And it caught my eye because it was so colorful. When I laid it out on the floor, it has lots of problems. Obviously, it looks like somebody actually either planned it this way or cut a piece out of it so that it could lay down flat somewhere. It has like a notch cut out of it on the left, but it's whipped up, but not as well as the rest of the rug. It looks like somebody maybe whipped the rug later on in the rug's life. It looks like a hot mess, honestly. But when you look at it more close up, maybe you can see a glimpse of what I was seeing. There was like striping in the boxes. They were very colorful. It was an exciting rug to look at. You know, there were some parts that were washed out, but in general, oh, Carol, great to see you. Oh, great to see you from Northford. Oh, no, we're right here. We're just getting warmed up. I had a lot of problem logging on, Carol, so you're lucky you missed all that chaos. We're nice and smooth now, I hope. So yeah, so this rug was not like, it wasn't like the greatest, wait a minute, let me come back here. It wasn't like the greatest rug I ever saw, but I liked the idea that it was a geometric, the outlining was in different colors. It was very inexpensive. It was like $40. Was it in great shape? It wasn't in great shape, but it was really colorful. And what you can say about a rug like this, hold on one second, let me come back to it. Oh, I was going to say, don't play this game again. It was, okay. It was doing a little bit of playing, but I think we're good. When you look at a rug like this, hang on, I've got to get back where I was now. Something's up tonight, right? Something's definitely up, but we're good. So far, so good. The one thing I can say about these rugs, we know, no. We know that they're not intrinsically valuable, right? If you love the way it looks, you love the colors, these are your favorite colors, you're going to go for this rug. We know that historically geometric rugs were put in places where, not good places, right? Were not places where company would see them. They went in kitchens, in bedrooms. They went into rooms that were not for public consumption, right? The neighbors didn't see your geometrics. These were just for warmth and a little bit of color for the family, but they were not shown in the main rooms where guests might see them. So for all of these reasons, geometrics are not as esteemed as other kinds of hooked rugs. But I will say, for a geometric, if you think like, oh, I'd like to have a rug up on the wall and I just want it behind some other stuff, like behind my plants or something like that, a geometric is great for that, because you just put stuff in front of it, you hide the bad parts of it. There's a lot of color back there. You get that rich feeling of there being a hooked rug there, right? You get that energy, that presence of there being this beautiful handmade textile back there. But it doesn't require, it's almost like watching a TV show while you hook that is like brainless, right? It's kind of like that, where you're like, I'm working on my hooking, and if I miss something, I miss something. It's it's Three's Company, it's Cheers, whatever. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. But if I miss something, I'm not going to have to rewind it, you know. It's the same thing with geometrics. When you think about how you will display them in your house and you think, oh, I might put one there, but it might be half covered. It doesn't matter with a geometric if it's half covered, right? Ooh, if you're standing this way, you only see the edge of it. It's going to be a very pretty edge, though, isn't it? So in that regard, geometrics are great rugs to think of if you're thinking about decorating. It made me think about what geometrics we see when we look, right? So I looked on eBay, just a brief search. I saw this. I forget how much this is, but it's on there now. This is listed as latch hook chair seat. Not kidding. So it's on burlap. It's finished. It was never cut out and used. Maybe it was an extra, right? But it's listed, if you like this and you need one, it's listed as a latch hook chair seat. We know this isn't latch. Am I sure that this isn't latch? Are you sure this isn't? There's the back of it. That's not a latch. That's a hooked rug. So another thing to think about when you're searching, if you don't have a lot of rugs in person, you might want to think about looking up on both eBay, Etsy, less on Etsy. People on Etsy tend to know what they've got. eBay, Facebook Marketplace. Look up some wrong words like needlepoint carpet. You're going to see some hooked rugs in needlepoint carpet. You're going to see some hooked rugs in latch hook carpet and stuff like that. You definitely will. It just depends on how much time you've got on your hands. You're also going to find things that are kind of false starts, like these boucherette carpets are woven, and they are sometimes listed as hooked rugs, and they are absolutely not hooked rugs, right? These are woven rugs. Boucherette, Boucheretta. It refers to the women who make them. And these are made on a loom. These are all Boucherette rugs that look a lot like the one I showed you from the store in Maine. They have different height. Sometimes they have fringe, sometimes they don't. That's not a telltale thing. But they are confusing to look at up close because they are cut, right? They are cut. So when you look at it, you think, ooh, is that a rag rug? Like in the way that we do rag rugs? It's not. It's a clipped rug, but it is not a handmade rug. It is not a hooked rug. It's also not a rear rug, and it's not a latch rug, right? This is a loomed rug that is cut. So there are so many kinds of varieties of rugs that are made in different ways, and none of it really matters. It's just language. It just matters if you're looking for a hooked rug and you buy something that says it's a hooked rug and it turns out it's not a hooked rug. Then it does matter because you feel like you were, I don't want to say conned is too strong of a word, but you feel, that it's a bit unfair, right? It's at least a little bit unfair. If you spent a lot, then it's really unfair. But all things to bear in mind. And, it is fun going through these antique stores, especially in a place like Maine where there are so many rugs, because you do see mistakes on tags and whatever. And when I was young, a few years ago, I would say like, I would bring it up and say, oh, this is wrong. Just so you know, make sure you tell nobody ever changes anything. They're just like, just go put it back in the stall. So it is still possible to get some great finds, and the more educated we are, misled. Thank you. That's what I mean, Ruth. Misled, and not necessarily on purpose, but it doesn't make the outcome any more comforting, right? If you bought the thing and hey, it's yours. You bought it. It's yours. So be careful, both in person and especially more online, but also in person, right? Because you look at the tags on things and you think, well, that must be what it is, and it's not necessarily. This is a hooked rug, and this is in that same store as maybe the last 4 or 5 in Maine. This is very pretty, and this is another rug going back to our earlier conversation where it's very hard to tell whether this is a commercial design or not. It could be. It could be like, the pattern that we're seeing in the background has been called broken glass, jigsaw, and mosaic. Right, that jagged, that exact design. It's just like a crazy quilt background with 3 different brands. Historically, it's been called 3 different things, but it is exactly the same design. Something you could do with a pencil, right? Just freehand as well. It could be that I'm going to stick with the heirloom term, which is jigsaw, right? That was what they called these rugs, the jigsaw pattern. It could be that someone drew a rose and an oval around it because the oval looks a little bit wonky. It's not like, it doesn't look perfectly centered either. it might be that somebody drew the rose, drew the oval, and then did this sort of jigsaw thing around it. Maybe. Or it could be that it's a commercial design. And I don't know. That rose in the middle with those small leaves just doesn't look like a commercial design to me. It looks very naive and sweet. And again, note that there are 2 leaves touching the border. That typically doesn't happen with commercial designs. It's not right unless they added that heavy border, and that wasn't part of the design. The inner field with the rose also looks really small proportionately. So I don't know. This strikes me as not a commercial design. This strikes me as an original design. This has definitely been washed many, many times. I bet you most of it was like black, brown, maybe dark green, and it is washed to like gray. A lot of it is washed to gray. Some of the black hung in, but there's a lot of fade happening in this rug. And the texture of the surface is not great. And sorry, wait a minute. When you see, it's hard to see it close up, but it's very rough. Like somebody's washed it like with soap and scrubbed it. And it was meant to be and it served as a utilitarian rug. So it makes perfect sense that somebody would want to wash this and keep it fresh. But in terms of collecting, something that's this both roughed up and washed out, is not going to be collectible in anyone's world anytime in our lifetimes. There's just too many other rugs out there that are vivid, that have not been scrubbed to death. Is it pretty? Oh, it's super pretty. If you love the rug and you love the design, it reminds you of grandma or something, then you love the rug. If you love the rug and you want somewhere for your dog or cat to sleep, and this is going to be a great spot for them right next to the couch, then this is a great use of this rug. But as far as being a collector's rug, condition isn't just are there holes in it. Condition is, has somebody scrubbed the life out of it and the luster out of it and the color out of it. That comes into play too, right? This is another store. As I got a little bit further up the road, I came to some stores that are a bit more fancy and high end. Now, I have to say, Maine is just an amazing, it's an amazing place. It's got crazy sort of dichotomy. There are extremes. These stores represent extremes of wealth where you see things that should be like in the Newport mansions, right? That are like, wow. And in the same store, you might see a hooked rug that's $35. Like it's really dynamic, right? The pricing is very dynamic, and very whimsical. It just seems going from one store to the next because sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to go in this store. It looks really fancy. Even if I like something, I'm not going to end up getting it. And then you go in and like some of the prices, it's like, whoa, that's quite good. So all the pricing seems, at least along Route 1, and we're talking about Maine, seems very much like at the whim of the owner, right? What that person likes. They tend to price the things that they like quite high because hooked rugs are worth more than $35 or $65, particularly when they're in good shape. And I found a lot that were in that price range. This one might have been like 65, 85, something like this, but it is quite large. And it was a very nice store. And yes, it's done on the floor, but it's not a high traffic area. I wouldn't want to keep this one on the floor. It's a beautiful geometric rug. It is a geometric, but it's a hit or miss. And it's very, very pretty. It's lots of blues on black. So you might look at it at first glance and say, it is what it is. It's pretty. It's pretty enough. It's as pretty as it needs to be. But, in person, it really was very pretty. It had a lot of blue. It had a beautiful glow to it. The hit or miss was really well done in terms of dark light, dark light, dark light. This would be a beautiful piece to hang up on the wall. Again, like over a bar or something with lots of bottles in front of it. Can you imagine how pretty that would look? Maybe on the stairs, going up the stairs against the wall, right? If there's like a tall stretch or just a skinny wall, how pretty would that look? Maybe on the back of a door, something like that. Right rug for the right person and in the right place. But rugs like this are aplenty. Same store, another one, very, very sweet. Certainly a commercial pattern here. Very cute. This one didn't do too much for me. I would say this is a 1930s rug. Lots of browns, right? The colors that you would expect from that time. Somebody got a hold of a good amount of blue, green, and then that checkerboard color, which is a mix. It's a yarn, so it might have been like for crocheting or knitting or something like that, but it works really well. This is a combination of wool and yarn, whether it's wool yarn or not, I don't know. Lots of browns in this one, but the blue is very cheerful. And it's in very good shape for what it is. I didn't look at the price on this, but in this store, the rugs were very inexpensive. I would expect to bend down and see this at 35 or 45. That was like the price point at the store. So, commercial pattern. Is it worth something? No, it's not really worth anything unless you like it and you have the right place for it. This is another one. This is actually a hooked rug. It looks like a woven rug, but it's not. It's a hooked rug. It's a very fine cut. It was pretty. It didn't do too much for me. It's so formal. With rugs like this, I just feel like just leave it to the looms. Like, I mean, that's just my personal feeling. At this point, probably 50s, 60s, the looms were doing this stuff so great. What a lot of work to hook a rug like this. I mean, it's lovely, don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, this kind of rug is not going to work on the wall. It really looks like a rug. And it's really not going to work on the floor because it can't take too much more. It doesn't have much more in it. This rug falls into that kind of twilight zone, like the no man's land, where it is neither really serviceable as a rug anymore without tremendous risk, but it's also not exactly a piece for a wall, right? It's like, oh, there's a rug on the wall. So it's one of those kind of funny pieces that fall in the middle. There's not a lot of pieces like that in my mind. This is all the same store. Now here comes something interesting. In this store, and again, I should have made a note of which stores, but honestly, we hit probably more than 20 stores this day. The poor kids suffered so much. They were coming in and out, and they found a couple of things in the junkier stores, but we gave them a lot of nice food and a lot of treats and some nice sodas and things like that. But I dart in and out, and I'm just really looking for rugs, and there's a lot. This particular store had 4 rugs by the same artist. I'll show you the art. I'll show you the artist's name and all that at the end. This is one of them. I struggled so much with these 4 rugs. This rug is, they're very hard to make out. These are all original designs. That's very clear. They're all supposed to be set in Maine. Teddy, I'm doing a show. Teddy. This is the Main Street somewhere, but I don't know where, and it definitely didn't say. There's a lot of brown. All right. So what I mean is, I think this is maybe a beach, and there's kids playing in the sand, or that's grass and kids are playing in the grass. But there are kids playing in brown, whatever that is. Also, the buildings are brown. So what this says to me, and there's a lot of blue in the sky and white. What this said, are you coming over to say hi? What is it?
It's a chunky bar.
Oh, if that's a chunky bar, you got to give me half of it for later. Is that all right? Can you bring me my phone? Can you bring me? Ask Papa where my phone is. I need to check something on it.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll just give you that back.
No, I don't want the whole chunky, Ted. So my issue with this one, what's right about this rug? Well, it's an original design. It's super quirky. Wait till I show you some close-ups. You're going to say, wow, this is some serious higgledy-piggledy going on here with the hooking. I love this style of hooking. It is totally original. This is on burlap. This is an original scene. That's what's going right for me with this rug. What's going wrong with this rug? I know it's in Maine, but it looks like a western town, and I don't know where it is. If I knew where it was or it reminded me of someplace, I would have snapped this rug up in a second. I'm going to make this rug a little bit bigger. Hold on one second. Let me just do this. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let me see if I can see how much this rug was. I think you can probably see it too. Gail, I think he's on his way back. He's going to have to close his, he's got his robe on and his chest out like John Travolta over here. Here he comes. You going to say hi?
I'm not. Yeah.
Just close your robe. Come say hi. It's Friday night. You can have half the chunky. It's all right.
Okay.
You say hi to your buddies. Don't you love chunky bars? Remember these things? Here. Here he is. Here he is. Remember these things? The best. They've got a little bit of raisins in them and stuff like that. Oh man, those are the best.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye,
even if you save me one square, I'll be happy, right? Because it is going to be Easter this weekend.
Oh, separated.
But if it just breaks, just eat it. Get it away from that wool though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
I got it half.
yeah, it looks like this rug is 95. Now that's a great price. It's not huge. Let me see if I took a picture holding it so you get a better feel. Yeah, I'm holding it here. So this is the size 95. This is great. But you know what I mean here? Like it's very brown. And I can't make out really what's going on. I can't really make out the location. For me, it's very brown. So I loved it. I thought it was super sweet, super unique, right? It's definitely unique. But for me, it was not faded. It was very brown. So, ooh, that one shouldn't be next. Wait a minute. Let's come back to that one. No, let's come back to these. I want to go. Yeah, I want to go to the other ones by the same artist. Sylvain, thank you. Oh, thank you for all the hellos for Teddy. He's such a sweet boy, such a sweetie. So now look at this. Am I crazy? This is the way that it was being shown in the store. So I went up to the same artist and I thought, oh, different. Here's another one by this artist, and I got all excited because I thought, okay, there's a whole bunch in this store from this artist. I didn't really like the one with the street and the dirt, but maybe I'll like a different one because I really want an original piece of art by this person, right? So I looked at this and I went, what are these lighthouses? Are they like penguins? Is this like the three wise men? Like, what is going on here? Because I'm like, okay, the snow is falling on the ground. There are clouds in the sky. What's going on here? And I mean, I don't even want to admit to you how long I was standing there before I went, you know what? I think they have it upside down. And I turned it the other way, and it's obviously stuck. It's socks. It's socks on a laundry line, and it is snowing, and there is snow on the ground. Duh. Um, this is another, I mean, I forget how much this was. It was 95 was the most expensive one. This might have been like, I don't know, 45 or 65. So it's smaller. I kind of wish I got this one. You know, I don't know. I mean, I liked that it was a original design by the same artist. I struggled with obviously what it was, and once I figured out what it was, oh, Betty, good to see you, Betty Ann. Then I was a bit more like, okay, well, it socks on a laundry line. And I still came back to the thing for myself that it's a lot of primary colors, that it's not usually my look. You know, I'm trying to get rid of so many rugs, or I will be in the near future. You haven't missed anything. I haven't had time yet. I like that it's snowing. I like that the three socks are different because it's like a multiples composition. It's interesting. And I like sky material that it's tweedy, but I don't like that it's black and white. Maybe I'm not a literal thinker, but my mind says, there's so many neutrals in here and primaries. I wasn't personally super attracted to the colors, although I thought it was amazing that it was an original piece. Now, I went into another corner and I saw this piece. Oh, it says Maine and it's a house. Okay, this is probably the piece that I should have got. I'll tell you why I didn't get it in a little while. This is the size. It's a chair seat size. I think this one was 65. Super sweet. Again, it's somebody's house. I don't know whose house it is. It's pretty. It's another snowscape. It's obviously the same person hooking, so it's like ripped material, right? Very, very wide hooking, very higgledy-piggledy. The NGS is the signature, and it says Maine on it. Very cool. Washing machine eats socks. It's cool. It's somebody's house, and to me this was the most sort of neutral of the four. There were four in this store, and apparently there were others, but they had sold. This is the fifth. I'm sorry, this is the fourth. So now you've seen all four. Again, I looked at this and I was like, wow, it says Maine and it's signed. And I liked some different things about this one that I'll show you closer up. I like the shadow in this one. Do you see the shadow at the bottom? That's cool. I like the little red chimney. I like the bright blue sky. But man, that's a black house with a lot of dirt under it. Again, you know, like no problem. No problem. But just in terms of, I don't know. I guess I like bright colors and cheerful stuff, and I didn't know what this place was. It's obviously some kind of impressive big house. It could be a private house, but I brought it up to the women at the front, and they said, "Is this like a local historic house or something? Do you recognize the house?" And they said, "No, it's got to be something, but we don't know what it is." And I thought maybe it's an old hotel or something. Yeah, nobody knew, and I thought, man, this one was a little more expensive again, maybe more like 65, 75, which for an original pattern hook rug, that is nothing, I know. But I couldn't shake the feeling that none of them really spoke to me. That's what it was. Like the socks, maybe, I don't know, not the socks. Maybe the one before this spoke to me more, but it was again a house, but not my house, and not really even a generic type house. I just want to show you the tag in the hooking close up. So the artist's name only appeared on one of the 4 rugs, and it's N. Gertrude Scott. And it's a Maine folk artist, right? This is the large one with the big dirt foreground, or maybe beach, right? Maybe grass, maybe beach. But I just want, so this was the largest one at 95. I just want to show you what this hooking looks like close up. This is Higgledy Piggledy personified. I absolutely love this. I just love the way that this looks. It looks like she's hooking with a lot of really small scraps because you see how many ends are in it, right? If you're hooking with a big, you bought yardage and it's from door, and you're cutting up these strips that are fairly long. She's hooking with strips that are like 2 inches long in some spots because you're just seeing ends upon ends upon ends. That is so folky and that is so cool, and I love the way that looks. You see the back, you see a person in the foreground, just a very stylized face, right? Just very fast. It's not fleshed out at all, is it? It's just the suggestion of a person. You see the different blues in the background. I mean, this is really good stuff. This is really good stuff. And this is the beachy part of that composition with the big sort of main street or strip in behind it, and there's like the beach. This is a child. So just to give you a close-up of what the hooking looks like, it's a lot of patterned and textured wools, so they get thready. Now this maker, right, N. Gertrude Scott, if anybody knows this maker, please let me know. I'll run back to Maine and get these. For myself, I needed there to be some kind of connection, right? Because I wasn't necessarily personally connecting with the subjects or the compositions. I wasn't connecting with the rugs. If I had connected to the maker and I went, oh my God, I've heard that name before, then I would have been interested in buying all of the rugs. But I didn't have either of those things, you know what I mean? And I just couldn't bring myself, I couldn't figure out which one I wanted. And although I love the style of hooking, and who wouldn't, how delicious is this? I mean, it's super cute. It's super fun. It's very loose hooking. This is how she's hooking the trees, right? Some mixed materials. It's really cool, and it's really different, and it's wonderful finding. Hold on, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back to the ones we missed. It's wonderful finding pieces that are one-of-a-kind pieces. Hang on, we're making our way back here slowly. I love finding original work, obviously. I mean, who doesn't, right? I just had trouble falling in love with these pieces. And since that's the case, it becomes like, do I want it just to own it? Does it speak to me at all? Not so much. We're getting there. I don't know how I got so far down. I'm so sorry, everybody. You're going to get whiplash here. They were all special. I'm just flipping through them one more time so you can see them and clock them, because this is a Maine rug hooking artist who, we're going to come back to that one, who did absolutely beautiful work. When I got to, not this one, but I'm really struggling with the dashboard tonight. I got to tell you, this one. I think this was the one that I had in my hand, and I said, you know what, let me just buy, at first it was like, let me buy 4, and then it was like, let me buy none. I mean, I was like schizophrenic, and then it was like, okay, let me buy 2, no, let me buy 1, and I said, I'll just buy this one, because it says Maine, and it's snowy, so that's like Maine, right, and it was snowy that weekend, and I said, I'll just get this one, and as I lifted it up, this weird mutant moth came crawling out from between the loops. It was like half larvae, half moth. Like it wasn't fully a moth yet. And I was like, you know what? That did me in. Like that got me. I was so sitting on the fence. And when I saw the moth, it's not the end of the world when there's a moth in a rug. You just put it in the freezer for like, put it minimum 4 days, right? Or you put it in there for a week if it makes you feel better. The moths and the moth eggs will die, right? And you'll be fine, right? Reset. but it just made me nervous. It seemed like a sign that as soon as I said, I guess I'll take this one, and then this creature, like this loth, like half larvae, half moth thing, like from between. And I thought, yeah, no, that got me. So I didn't get any of them. And I was kind of triggered because when I got to the desk, the woman was very, very nice. But as we were leaving, I said, just so you know, because she saw me looking at the handmade rugs and we were talking about them, trying to see if we could kind of name where any of them were set, like if she could recognize the town center or that big building or whatever. And I said, just so you know, I noticed a moth on one of those rugs, right? Because she knew which. And this is exactly what she did. Oh, that's okay. Like our person will come soon, and they'll take them and clean them for us. That's no problem. And I'm thinking, don't tell me that's no problem. If I had put that thing in the car, I had three other rugs in the car and all my supplies, right? All my wool supplies for hooking my stuff for the rose book. Don't tell me that's all right. If I had put that rug into the car and that thing crawled off and crapped eggs all over my other stuff, I'm going to be full of moths, aren't I? Like, people don't understand. It's not like it's a pandemic moth whatever situation. Um, it's controllable. It can be controlled. But I don't like the nonchalance. That made me very, very nervous. I didn't like the nonchalance. And when stuff because it's like diminishing your worry that moths are going to get all over the place. And when you're a hooker, you're surrounded by wool. It's a nightmare if moths get into your stuff. You never want that to happen. That can't happen. So when I encounter that kind of sort of cavalier attitude about I saw a moth on some, what the response that I'm expecting isn't like, oh my God, Home Alone. No, but I would expect the person to go, oh, let me grab all four of them because they obviously all came out of the same house. Let me put them in a plastic bag and I'll deal with that. Thank you so much for telling me. Not like, oh, don't worry about that. Our person will come here one of these days and then clean them, because I thought, that's not coming in my car. Even if I took a different one and that, the thing like the Stephen King thing came out of the rug and then it climbs on everything else, and no thanks, Satan, not today. So I feel like I made a good decision there. But I guess general rule of thumb, when you pick up rugs in places, plastic bag, right? This is a plastic garbage bag, tied tight, and put them in the freezer, right? Put them in the freezer when you get home, and then they can emerge, right? But just be careful if you've got other wool around. And if you see a moth on something, it has to be bagged, double bagged, taped up, like no chance of the moth coming out until it gets to the freezer or you get a chance to wash it. I mean, I wouldn't wash hooked rugs, but until you can do something to it. But you take it seriously if you see moths on stuff in stores and the owner doesn't take it seriously. Then you have to take it extra seriously, because that is the attitude. They don't care. So that's scary, as a wool person, that is scary. So let me come to these two rugs that I went over by accident. They were in the same store. This is before the moth incident. Really pretty rugs. These are not commercial rugs. This is a wide strip, an 8 or a 9, another geometric. Probably the same person who did that blue tile design, remember? Right before we started looking at the original designs. It's probably the same person. It's the same kind of cut, and it's a similar geometric, partly hit or miss and partly geometric. Do you know what I mean? And it's also the same, like the kind of hearth size, right? Like long and skinny. I bet you anything it's the same maker for both, because it is the same store. These were beautiful rugs. I don't even know that I checked the price because I knew I wasn't going to pick up geometrics. But this one, like the one that was blue with some geometric tiling in it too, this one is another unusual color scheme. It's like this kind of saddle brown with a hit or miss multi crosses in the middle and off-white. And then the green is kind of a teal or like a mallard green. You know what I mean? Like a country green. It's a very creamy green that's a little bit of a green blue. Very unusual colors. Very pretty rug. Was very happy to see that. And again, this is the same store. PH made this in 1989. I've seen this design before. I can't remember who did this. This could be like Lib Calloway, something like that. The pattern anyway. This obviously has a lot of loss, but it's not glued. It's a handmade rug. You could easily bring the border seemed to be perfectly fine. There was mostly loss in the middle from things catching on it, probably little claws, but it could easily be fixed, this rug. And there were some pieces hanging off of it, so you know you can plug those back in, or you can match. These are easy colors to match. This would be an easy one to bring home and fix. Same store, so we definitely want to put it in the freezer. But a little bit of fading on this one, right? Just a little bit, but very nice country colors. It certainly has that 80s, 90s feel, right? It's right there in the center. Very unusual color plan. You do see this pattern a lot, but you always see like blue skies, you know. The black background is a little bit of a Clare Murray feel for me. It's very dramatic. And it's funny that it's dramatic because the person who bought this and made it obviously liked country stuff, had that taste in country stuff, yet they did this sort of high drama black background with, like, you know, the sage green and the like a light paprika. Very dramatic colors for a country scene. So it was a striking rug. I don't know how much this one was either, but again, none of the rugs in here were expensive. If the originals weren't going to be expensive, then you know that the ones that are like the commercial patterns are not going to be expensive. I couldn't help but wonder, sorry, I can't remember where we left off. I couldn't help but wonder how many more rugs they had of this artist, and what they were. You know, don't you do that too? I make myself sick with these kinds of conversations. Like, well, these are the 4 that were here. What were the ones that sold, right? What good is that, right? Pining over the ones that sold when, you know, but I wonder honestly what they were. I was so curious. I'm just going to flip this one on its side. Hold on just a second. Let me do this while we're here. There we go. I just feel like this is a more natural way to look at this one. This is a different store now. I went a little bit further up the road. Sorry. And there we go. There we go. You know, I'm looking at it. You know what I'm thinking? Is this the rug from the first slide? I mean, I'm going to have to check now. Hang on. So this is image number 81. Help me remember. This is image number 81. Let's find that one rose. Was it really the beginning? Nope, that was the beginning. Let me see if we can find that one rose one with the Waldoboro. There it is. Okay, let's soak this in for a second. I think this rose is bigger. All right, you got it? Did you lock that in? Now let's look at 81. Sorry, making my way. No, that's not the same at all. But similar feel, I guess, because it has the single rose in the middle, and that one had like 2 little branches coming out the sides, and this one has 2 little branches coming out the sides, but this one has 2 little flowers at the end of the branches, and this one is a bit more whimsical, but of course that could be stuff that's added. I was tempted by this one. It was $45, but again, it for me, I didn't need it. It was very, very pretty. I'm wondering if I took a closer up. No, so let's stick on this one. I found this one in a store that was brand new, and it was stressful to be in. I felt like we were, you know, compelled to buy something, and we didn't. It turned out it was a cash only store. My husband was going to get some records, and we brought them to the counter because it was one of these things where I was like, I think you should get something, and so he got a couple of LPs, and he got to the counter, waited forever because the guy was on the phone, and then it was like, oh, we only take cash. I was like, let's get out of here. God, we got more fish to fry. You know, this road is endless antique stores. So I found this rolled up underneath the table. I mean, the only reason I found it was because he was taking so long looking at records, and I started, like, you know, losing my mind. And I think I even sat on the floor for a minute, and I saw it underneath these tables, and I thought, ooh, wait a minute, what's that? And I pulled it out, and then I almost bought it just because I was so excited that I found it. But when I looked at it and I thought, oh, it's beautiful. And, you know, you could use it as a rug because it's in great condition. I just didn't need it. I just didn't need it. That's all it was, because I love the 4 flowers in the corners. They have that toll painting look. You know what I mean? One little brush stroke of a highlight, those little fat round flowers that almost look like bees. I love this style. It's so 80s, 90s. And I love the little branches, the little round leaves around the oval. it's really sweet, right? It's full of whimsy. It's colorful. The background field was like a black and white texture, so that was very neutral and flat, but it was colorful enough that it was interesting to me. I had it in my hand like I was gonna get it, and then I didn't because I just didn't need it. But it is a nice find, isn't it? It's not necessarily one that I would put on the wall. I mean, I would think about putting it up or mounting it, but it is one that could still be used on the floor. I wouldn't put any hooked rug in a high traffic area, but it could be off in the corner where I never walk. You know what I mean? Um, I just didn't need it, but it was super super sweet, and I wanted to show you all. Right, this is a very comprehensive look at what's on Route 1 in Maine as of last weekend. This is another cutie. It was mounted on a board, just like we were talking about on Monday, but obviously it's got a huge problem. It's massively washed out. It doesn't look like it's washed with soap and water like the one that we looked at. It just looks really faded, like it was in the light forever. And I think what it was, I think it's a hint, one of a kind homemade design of a little boat in a circle with like almost a porthole border, and then these Art Deco pink shapes on the sides. And then they even took the time to do this little gray stripe and then this kind of purpley stripe. It was super cute. It reads as a boat, but if you're wondering, does it only look faded because of the photo? No, it really is faded. I really struggled like with the socks. Like what way is up, right? And hey, you turn it the other way and it's modern art, right? It's just like, oh, hey, it's an abstract. It was super cute. I think this was like $15. It was mounted, and somebody loved it enough that it was down on the floor, and then they mounted it. And that really speaks volumes to me. That is such a sweet story. And if I wasn't someone who made rugs and had so many already, I would have bought this one just because it was so endearing. It must have been some beloved that made it, and then it was down on the floor and they thought, nope, I'm never letting this go. And they mounted it and made it into a wall piece because it was so special. And now maybe that person is gone too, and here it is at the antique store. This was way down on the floor behind a bunch of paintings, and it was another one that would have been really easy to miss because it was not visible. And when I left it on this stool thing so that people could see it when they walked by, just in case anyone felt the same way and maybe didn't have 100 extra rugs laying around and thought, you know what, that's something so special. I want to have that in my place. The same place where I found that rug with a single flower that I just showed you before, that one that was like 1996 or something, that I said could still go on the floor, and it was very very pretty. This was in the same store, and this is a completely different rug. This is an ice cream sundae with chocolate. Now hang on, Judy. It could be like a banana split, right? It could be like a banana split in a dish. It totally could. It reminds me of Friendly's, that Jim Dandy in the dish. Yeah, it could be, and with something like this, you could take it off if you wanted to, right? If you were committed, you could do two things. You could get your dies out and hand paint loops. You could. You could hand paint loops, pour the stuff into a little bowl. Be careful. Dip your paintbrush in, small paintbrush, a small flat one, right? Like a not too wide and very flat. And you could loop by loop do very localized filling in of color, and you could repop the color on it. If you wanted to, you could do that. Is it going to work perfectly? You don't know until you start. In theory, should it work perfectly? Of course. In theory, it should work perfectly. The one thing that you need to think about, right, the fly in the ointment could be that it's not wool, and that you thought it was, but there's a lot of synthetic in there, and the dye is not going to work with the synthetic. That could be a problem, but probably not. You could do that. You could also, with a piece like this, just take it down for a moment, right? It's only stitched onto the fabric that is wrapped around the stretchers, its mount. You could take it off its mount for the moment and unhook the center part if it seemed like it had enough integrity to be able to suffer that, right? And then you could rehook just the center, for example, with something else. So there are ways that you can take rugs like this and make them relevant in your life, or restore them when it's only a color thing. That rug otherwise on that mount like that, other than it being very hard to make it out, Is it a boat or is it an ice cream, right? Like that really is. There's a lot between those two things. When it's that far gone, it becomes a question of, do I love the piece enough to do some TLC on it, right? Because it was a loved piece to be mounted the way that it was. It was a loved piece, and it's sad to see it there in the store. But there are still things that we can do to it. There really are still things, if you want to. You have to be feeling it to begin with, right? Because it's not an assignment. Now, this piece is about as far from the ice cream boat as anything could be. This is another one of a kind piece. Obviously, it's a horse. It says Royal Highland Farm, and this is Sunny, the horse. And Sunny is hooked in 2s or 3s, really, really fine. I think Sunny was maybe like 150, something like that, maybe 195. Sunny was more. And again, I didn't buy any of these rugs, but it's worth talking them through because they're all lovely. This is a lovely rug, no doubt about it. This is a fabulous rug. For a horse person, you would have to have this, right? If you love horses, you would have to have this and put it into your collection of horse hooked rugs. But if you're a person like me who's scared of horses, and you don't know where Royal Farm is, and you didn't know Sonny in his lifetime, then it's very hard to relate to this rug. So that's a fairly, although this is a beautiful rug, don't get me wrong, this is a beautiful rug, and it's obviously a one of a kind rug, so there's a lot of value in that. But for the average person, it's a high price tag unless you can relate to it. It's very few people who are going to relate to it, right? It's basically just horse people are going to relate to it, because even rug hookers, it's like, it's got a Sunny is great, but unless you know the farm, you probably don't know the horse, right? It's like buying a portrait of a person. Very hard to move portraits because you see a face and you don't know the face, and do you want to live with the face, right? Because it means nothing to you. Unrelatable subject material is one of the problems with hooked rugs. It's one of the most interesting things to find when you find one of a kind non-commercial patterns. But when you find one like this that's so specific, God, it's gorgeous, isn't it? But it's going to sit there and wait for the next buyer, and hopefully not for too many winters, because people will come in with snow on their boots, and it is on the floor. Goretti says, I like it, right? So there is the right shopper out there for it, for sure there is. And it's not in a high traffic area. You wouldn't walk over it on purpose. It's not impossible that you might, but it's not within the flow of the store. But yeah, it's eye of the beholder always, right? And if it strikes you, it's like, that it's an original and that it has value for that reason. And it is really well done. So for those reasons, it's something special. This is another one, maybe the same store, maybe a different store, but another commercial pattern, kind of hidden under some stuff. But I wanted to take pictures of everything so I could share everything with you. I wanted you to see all the same stuff that I saw. Gail, you are a horse person, so you probably loved Sunny. And if it's the same, like if I think the fact that like dog and cat rugs, they don't have the same kinds of problems as, for example, like rugs with horses or maybe turtles, things like that. There's definitely people who like the different animals, but most people have a cat or a dog, right? And then there's like my obviously my daughter rides horses, and so does my sister. My mom likes horses. I'm the only one in the family who missed the horse gene, but yeah, I mean, if it turns out like my friend Colleen Tiefenthal, right? She loves her turtles. My dad loved turtles. I love to see things with turtles because it reminds me of my dad. But if someone loved like snakes, right? I don't. Or spiders or something like that. Or even like, I don't know, parrots or something like that. It's like, yeah, they're good. But I'm not going to buy a rug with a parrot because it's hard to relate to. But you might say, well, I have birds. They're my favorite kinds of characters to keep, right? I can live without cats and dogs, but I can't live without my birds. And then you're going to go for that rug, and that's what makes it so exciting. You can't leave rugs that you love down in shops like this, because you might think, well, who the hell is going to buy Sunny, right? That's real specific. Gretty might if she goes. Gail might if she comes from Australia, right? If Gretty comes from Canada or Gail comes from Australia, Sunny's going to be gone. So you need to think about that because we've all suffered from leaving something behind that you literally cry yourself to sleep over later. Now, this probably wouldn't be one of those rugs in many people's worlds. I didn't even. I'll try to enlarge it and see how expensive this was. I wasn't that interested in this when I saw it, and I don't know why now that I'm looking at it because all of these rugs, by the way, I saw on the same day. So you can imagine like the Clare Murray pig and all of them. All of them I saw on the same day. You can imagine how overwhelmed I was, and I saw so many that I got into this mindset of next, and I wasn't, if I'd only seen one or two, I would have been moving stuff off of it. And yeah, Veronica, you have a phobia of snakes. I don't blame you. They move fast and suddenly when they want to move, it scares me too. The way they wrap scares me. Um, if I had seen only a few, I would have been doting on those few. And I have to say, I'm sorry that I didn't spend a little more time on this one because it is a commercial pattern. It is a lot of primary colors. For me, that's not super appealing. I like an unusual palette. I like an artist who thought, yeah, something different. I'm not that fond of primaries for myself. I'm not that fond of tan or marble cake backgrounds for myself. But I gotta say, when I'm looking at it in this photo, it's so striking, isn't it? It's almost like a botanical illustration. It's very vibrant. The colors are phenomenal. I would think this is a 70s, 80s rug. It's really in good shape. It was down on the floor. You can see there's a little bit going on the edges, but it is beautiful. It could go up on the wall as a lovely piece of folk art. It's a little bit vanilla in its feel, right? Let's see if we can see the tag. Hang on. Oh, Kirsten, great to see you. There you are. Hold on. We're just trying to see how much. My photos are usually pretty good quality. I think the tag is going to be upside down. You ready? What does that say? 35. That says 35, doesn't it? Dang it. That's a really good price for that. And you see it's on burlap on that corner there. Now, the worst part of this rug is that very corner, which makes me think, has this rug been sitting there for a really long time? And is the fact that it's like pinned or there's a safety pin in it the reason that it's lost those loops? Because it hasn't lost loops in other places. It's in really good shape, other than that one little spot. Man. I like how the leaves on this are blue. Isn't that nice? I mean, some of them are green, and then all this cherry red, and also the tomato red. I love to see cherry red with tomato red. And it is nice, I gotta say, to see that mustardy gold rather than yellow. It's not all primary colors. This rug is growing on me fast, I have to say. $35, I'm not kidding, right? These rugs are beautiful, and most rugs are very inexpensive up there. And you do become desensitized, right? Because you see so many. Now, this is another hooked one. Might look like it's a commercial one. This one was probably washed and roughed up as well. It also has a lot of fading. It's got to be a commercial pattern. But it is lovely. It is really lovely. I just think it's too faded. It's a little bit too boring. But I do love the colors, right? There is something pretty happening with the colors. If there weren't quite so much fading, it might have been a nice piece to put on the wall, like a backdrop behind something. Sorry. I love the little leaves. I don't know what kind of little leaves they are, but I really like them. I like them outlined in white too. It's a very light-hearted piece. It's a very dreamy piece. Just for S's and G's, let's see if we can see this tag. I'm just curious. I just want to get a feel for prices. Let's see. And you see, it's very, very dirty as well. I can't see that tag. Can anybody see that? Just make it a little bit bigger. I still can't see it. 70. Does that say 70 or 20? I mean, God knows that's not worth 70. It looks to me also like there's a lot of paint splatters on it. Now that I made it larger, do you see all those white dots? I mean, that's a lot of paint splatters. Surely that's not $70, right? That person would be, I don't know, smoking opium and then pricing antiques. It looks really well splattered, doesn't it? say you fell in love with, I mean, $70, this is going to be here, until the cows come home. But say you loved this piece. It's not in good condition, right? It is fairly roughed up. It's been used a ton. There are paint splatters all over it. Could you, this is a regular hooked rug. This is not a commercial hooked rug. Could you take the paint splattered parts out and rehook it? Absolutely. Should you? I don't know. I don't know. It depends on how much you love it. I got to say, a piece like this, while we love all hooked rugs, right? Because they're our babies. We're hookers and we love all hooked rugs. But I have to say, a rug that is in this condition, that's this faded with further insult of paint splatter, this is not going to be a rug that retains value. And if you're going to spend time restoring it, then you have to love this rug, because if you're thinking you're going to flip it when you fix it, you're not going to flip it. It's not going to happen. So interesting. And I think the more, we look at rugs all the time together. The more we do, the more experienced we become, I think, at looking at rugs. Now, my mouth is spouting my opinion, but my opinion is based on what I see and what I see sell. And I do see a lot of rugs in the wild, so I have a lot to compare them to. Now, this rug has been at this store for, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years. Now, this is a beautiful rug. I can't remember, I didn't check this time how much it cost, but I know in past years I have. It costs a lot. It's probably, $200 to $300. That's not so much. It might be even more than that. The problem with this rug is that it has been under all this other stuff for all this long. Like, there's sculptures on it. Who's going to be moving lamps and sculptures to check out the rug? It's a beautiful rug, and I would love to look at this rug. It's a gorgeous geometric. It's an unusual geometric, and then the border is all the crazy hit or miss, and I love it. I so love it. But yeah, I don't have it's not just the time it takes to take this stuff off, but wouldn't you be a nervous wreck moving all this stuff? And where are you going to put it, on the floor? Like, there's no surfaces in this stall that you could put all this crap on. If you want to see the rug, yeah, it'd be really hard. And if you ask somebody to come and help you, then there's always that thing, like, at least I feel like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to buy it after all. You've just spent the last 20 minutes moving stuff with me, and I still don't want to buy it. I just feel so awkward when those things happen. But I would be so curious if I ever arrived at this store and this was not covered up with 100 other things. I would love to see this rug. It is just beautiful. I know every time I turn the corner to this stall, it's like a little room, that I'm going to see this thing, because it's always there. And I bet everyone's having the same problem. Draped over the stairs was this rug. It looks like the photo's out of focus, but it's not. I'm going to show it to you closer up. At first glance, it looks like a charrette rug, or plie, whichever you like. Which is a different technique, but it's not. It's a hooked rug. So it's a hit or miss rug with a black border. It's got a fairly high pile. It's definitely been on the floor. It's been trodden down quite a bit, but look at it close up. Crazy, right? I started to wonder, in looking at it, is it a clipped rug or is it a standing wool rug? I don't know. I just don't know. It was really hard to tell. The back had like a piece of fabric over it, like sewn over it. With a standing rug, you would flip it over, you expect to see stitches because the wool is standing on end. With a hooked rug that's been clipped, you expect to see the backs of loops. And the reason it looks like this on the front is because it's not a loop rug anymore. It's a clipped rug because the loops have been clipped. I think it's hooked and clipped. I really do, because it's also quite a high pile. It could be a standing wool rug. It was super, super dense. I just couldn't tell. And there's no peeking without damaging it. But it's one of the two. And I forget how much this one is. Maybe we'll see a tag. I'll take you for a little ride looking at it, because I just feel like looking at it, it's so beautiful. I guess you can't see the tag. It's probably on the other side. It's so beautiful seeing the cross section of all of this wool. What a lot of material, and it's draped over the edge of the banister. That's why it's like folded like that. It's draped. This is like a 4-story antique place. I think this place is called York Galleries. something galleries. I think it's called York Galleries. And the one with all the stuff with the table on, everything on the table on top of it, that was in the same store. This is one of my favorite stores. I love this store. And I haven't seen this rug here before. So, yeah, if you're anywhere near there, check it out. Tell me what you think. If this is a standing wool rug or if this is a hooked rug that's been clipped. Very hard to tell. But exciting to find a beautiful, big, heavy piece. Now, right at the counter of this place, and again, I think this is called York Galleries. I hope that's right. Right at the, this is like the cashier's desk in the front, is this beautiful rug. I think this was something like $225, something like that, maybe $250. I thought it was beautiful. It's a gorgeous harbor scene. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. I wanted to just show you the whole shape first, and then let's look a little bit closer up. There's a lot of patterned wool in this piece. There's a lot of fading in this piece. You see the clouds in the sky. They're a little bit gone. I would say that this piece is, I would say maybe a 1970s. Could be 60s, 70s. I'd say 70s. It's because the colors are moving toward the 80s and away from the 60s, 70s. But the finish of it, with just the edges being folded and hooked to two layers, like through two layers, not whipped, not using tape right on the back. I could feel it with my hands because it's just tacked up there. It's been stitched through two layers. That's a 1950s technique, and I'm sure people were still doing it in the 60s and 70s. But not long after, right? People found other ways to do it that were a little bit easier. So beautiful scene, approaching a village, right? It has a real sort of New England feel to it. A lot of charm, very folk art perspective. The houses and buildings in the distance are bigger than the church, which would have been in the foreground and should have been a lot bigger. It makes me think it's an original design, that it's actually a town, and that is so special. I hope that someone from Maine or wherever this actually is recognizes it and says, oh, no way, that's the something church, and across the way, that little cluster of houses, maybe there's more there now. But I hope someone who knows where this is sees this rug, because it's 200 and something. It's not 2,000 and something. It's super charming. But for me, again, as someone who's not searching for just any rug, because I've got too many, I'm searching for rugs I really relate to, like either have an immediate emotional response to the colors, it makes me feel a certain way, or I can relate and say, with this one I could say, oh, it's a New England village, that's really cute. But it seems more specific than that. It seems like someone made it based on their village. And I wish I knew what that was, because then I would want to go there and take pictures, and then I would be very interested. But I hope that someone sees this and says, yeah, that's right around the corner. I got to have that, right? That's a one-of-a-kind rug. I really do think it's a one-of-a-kind rug. It's not a great drawing, but it's very folky, and it does the job. Whoever did this must have done a sketch or taken a photograph of this view and must have thought, I take that back because of the church. Maybe they didn't work off a photograph because the church is really out of perspective. The other houses look okay, but the perspective of the church and the cattails on the shore, that's all off. Maybe they were working from several photographs, and they had, like, for example, a photograph of the church in one hand and a photograph of the village in the other, and maybe they drew a composite. And maybe that's the reason that the perspective, the proportions are way off. Like, they're just not the right sizes in relation to each other. Hey, it adds to the charm. It does. It adds to the charm. And it's beautifully done. The colors are very subtle. Yes, there's some fading, right? That's okay. There's a little bit of fading, but we get the feel for it. It's a little more overcast, I think, than it was when it was first hooked. I love the texture in the ground, right? This is all super charming. Super, super charming. This could even be like an 80s piece, I mean, it has that feel too. We're headed toward those, like, remember those graphic calendars that, like, there was one that you'd put them on your desk in this plastic thing that had a stand, and each month it was a very graphic looking something just like this, landscape or whatever. They were all like, I think they were all landscapes, but you saw them in gift stores, like, all through the 80s, 90s, into the 2000s, and they looked exactly like this. I don't think this is taken from that. I think this is taken from an actual view. But what a beautiful piece. What a charming tribute to this place, wherever that is. another really beautiful rug, and I think it's also in the York Gallery. You would have been tempted for sure, Goretti, because it is relatable, right? And for you in Canada too, it looks like places like right? Like it looks familiar. Weirdly, this is fairly tempting for me, and I'm not big on commercial patterns, and I'm not big on geometrics, but this has that a weird flavor to it. It's very unusual color wise. Pattern wise, if I just saw the pattern, I thought this could never be interesting for me, but it becomes interesting. It has a real 1960s feel. Those flowers in the center with the little red dots on top, and the colors, right? The light blue, the sort of avocado green, the very light pink, the tomato red, and then in the border the cornflower blue, right? It really has 60s colors to it. I just feel like I could see decals of that flower all over someone's kitchen, right? Remember that? It has such a flavor of the time. It's a geometric pattern that was probably a much earlier pattern, like an early 20th century pattern. But I would wager that this rug was done in the 50s or 60s and done in colors that were very popular at that time, very cheerful, lots of outlining here. It's a very graphic rug. Because of the checkerboard, it takes on this game board quality. It's very unusual. It's very pretty. It's not original. It's not unique, but man, the colors are, right? It has some charm. It's a moment in time. It has some charm. This is a rug. I wouldn't want this down on the floor because it's of an age, but this is one that you could have on the wall. Now it's large. It's very large. But if you have a large space for it, and again, same conversation as before, and there's like a bridged or abbreviated, obstructed. That's what I want. Obstructed view. This rug could handle it, right? It's a big rug with not a lot going on in terms of confusion. It's a very straightforward rug. If it was kind of in the background and you had other stuff in front of it, what a great piece for the wall. I feel like my impression was it wasn't super dirty, but they better get it off the floor soon or it's going to be worth less. It's only going to be good as a floor rug. This is a great rug to mount, right? And even put up high. You know, there's a reason I always bring up hanging rugs like in stairways, because a lot of us have, a lot of us are in ranches. I do love a good ranch or a one-story cape, but a lot of us have stairs and sometimes more than one set of stairs. And the stairway is so boring. Sometimes you get these big expanses of wall and they're odd shapes. What a great thing to hang a rug in a place like that. And this kind of cheerful rug that's light, bright colors. Hey, if it's a little bit dirty from a distance, you're never going to know that if it's hanging in the stairwell, right? Really pretty rug. This is another really pretty rug. I turned it upside down, so that's why it's at a weird angle. I'm looking at the rose rug right now. I think this is a Garrett Bluenose pattern, just because of the very ornate heavy scroll, right? It's not that heavy thickness wise, but it resolves itself into some very prominent shapes. This is just reeks of Garrett Bluenose to me. It's really a beautiful rug. I'm going to stretch this bigger for us too. I really liked this one. I don't know why I didn't get this. I really liked it. I think I just felt, I bought two other rugs here. I'm going to show them to you. I think I just felt commercial pattern. I don't need it. But let me stretch this out a little bit because I do want to show you. There's a reason why this rug looks so rich. And the reason, like textured, right? Like it almost looks like a needlepoint. Can you see what's going on here? Like in almost the entire rug, it looks like it's hooked with yarn, right? I'll stretch it out. We can check that even more. But can you see what's going on with dark light, like everywhere? Like in the background with the brown black, in the scrolls with the dark light values, and even in the background, like the lighter white and then the creamy white. I mean, that, just sit back in your seat a little bit. That's a great effect. I mean, it looks like stitches. It almost looks like, oh, Gail, have fun with your visitors. Have a great day. It almost looks like needlepoint. And this is not the back of the rug. This is the front of the rug. What a cool effect. Let me make this a little bit bigger. You're getting a preview of the last rug. You see what I mean? Is this glorious or what? I mean, I don't know why I didn't get this rug. This is so pretty. It's so different. It really, the effect is phenomenal, because just when I think that there's nothing, like hooked rugs can be beautiful or more beautiful or unspeakably beautiful or ho-hum. But just when I think rugs, will, I'll always be surprised by rugs, right? I love them so much. But just when I think I can't be surprised by a rug, like what have they got going on there? Then I see a rug like this and I think, oh my God, what have they got going on there? What are they doing? Look at that. That is a cool effect. Honest to God, that is worth thinking about, remembering, because when you're thinking about your background, you're thinking, should I do shading? Should I do hit or miss? What kind of a background should I do? Remember this. This looks like needlepoint. This looks like those little, those little 1920s era purses that are made of beads. They cost a fortune. You see them, they're like little flapper purses. They just like a little square, and sometimes they have a tassel coming down, like a little triangle with a tassel. They're made all of beads, and they're usually like rug designs like this, like flowers with scrolls. This looks just like one of those because with all those little dots of highlight color, it almost looks like beads, like it looks three-dimensional. I think this is a phenomenal piece. I should have thought about that one in more detail. I'll show you at the end the two that I got while I was sitting on the floor here. This is the last one I've got in my slideshow, and then I'll show you the two others that I bought. I didn't buy big ones. You're gonna die when you hear how much I told you I spent for these. You're gonna be so upset with me. I got such a deal. Let's talk about this one first. This is the last one in the slideshow. Now, at first glance, this was rolled up when I found it. I unrolled it. I put it on the floor. I went, oh my God. I thought this was a commercial design. It's not a commercial design. This is a design somebody did with either stencils from the yard. It's pretty symmetrical, so look at that. But they're weird stencils. Like there's ferns in the corner, and then there's different size leaves. I feel like someone did this design with stencils from the yard and drew it straight on the backing, trying to make it as even as possible. And I think that's their dog in the center. I really don't think this is a commercial pattern. It could be stencils, but I don't think so. They're weird shaped leaves. I think somebody got a handful of leaves and they did like one on this side, one on that side. This was $95, so this was not a lot. There's something going on in this rug besides the unusual design this is still York Galleries. That is so unusual. I'm going to show you. But before I show you, let me show you first. And then I want to stretch this out because I want you to see close-ups of these leaves. I almost got it. But it is a bit roughed up, and that was okay. I loved the leaves. I really believe that somebody traced these leaves to make this design. I really believe that's their dog in the center looking like a crazy Fruit Loop. But, I mean, really sweet and folky and so colorful. On the edges, and this is an extreme close-up. I'm going to unlock, so we're going to move, okay? When I look at my extreme close-up, I can see something I didn't realize when I looked at the rug, that I don't think any of it's wool. I think this is all, I mean, maybe part wool, but knits, right? Knits. Do you see how they repaired this rug? First of all, it has a whip stitched, it has a crocheted border. That's a crocheted border, not a whipped border. And that's newer. So somebody really cared about this rug because of the amount of repair. This rug has been repaired on a sewing machine. You seeing this? I mean, is this crazy? And it's done with white stitches, right? Let me just bring you back down here. Sorry. It's very hard to navigate. It is interesting to see the different materials that are there. This is really a scrappy, thrifty rug. And let me show you the next slide. The entire border, including the dog, the whole body of the dog, there's no more backing fabric on the dog. It is just stitches. The dog is just being held together by stitches. Crazy. And yeah, somebody just put this thing under the sewing machine and just did this. So on one hand, so let's look at the bigger one again. On one hand, and I'm going to open this one up a little bit too. Well, before I do, look around that border. You see all those white marks that maybe look like it got dirty or that something spilled on it? That's stitches. That's like somebody went crazy with the sewing machine. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, and then let's look at it close up. So you see what I mean now? Now that you know what you're looking for, it really is everywhere. All that stuff at the bottom, all that white stuff you see, that's all stitches. And you probably can't tell because the dog doesn't look that bad in this photo, but I touched it with my hand. There's no backing fabric. That entire dog is being held together by stitches, by machine stitches. So it was a really unusual rug. I mean, I loved it. I loved it because there's lots of stories here. I think this is like, it tugs at my heartstrings, maybe yours too. I love all these leaves. I picture someone making this by laying them down and tracing around them. I love that the veining on some of them is in multicolor and they're just wild colors. And there's the buddy in the center with his human nose sitting there during the autumn with all of the leaves around him. It's just an absolutely precious piece. And honestly, it wasn't necessarily that it had been repaired on a sewing machine. That in itself, I've seen that before, but not to this extent. And where the sewing machine had gone over it, it was like paper thin. Like it had sewed down the loops. It wasn't. It was like it changed texture, right? So much of the rug felt like it was paper thin because of the stitching. It's not fragile, right? It's really stitched together. It's not fragile, but it didn't really put me off that it had that, because I thought, well, that's part of its strange story. It's part of its strange history. And I love the dog and everything. It was the combination of all of those wacky repairs, plus it was just worn. It was a bit worn, and it was a bit faded, and and I didn't need it. But again, the Deanna of even like 6 months ago probably would have bought that rug and would be rolling on it with my face right now because I loved it, but I didn't need it. And it did have, I'm trying to say to myself, stop buying rugs that need big repairs. Stop buying rugs that you do not plan to put up on the walls immediately, right? If my idea is I buy the thing and then I roll it up and I put it in the attic or the basement, I'm trying to get myself to stop doing that because there are so many rugs in this house, right? And I will put them on Patreon. Thank you, Patreon members, first. I haven't done it yet, so you have not missed it. I have not done it yet. I've been overwhelmed. But I'm coming up for air soon. Let me show you. Get ready. I'm going to back up here. Let me show you what I did get. So at the same store at York Galleries, hold on, I'm just going to move my bench. Whoa, one of my other hooked rugs fell. Okay, let me come back here. Sorry, I got my my Christmas pajamas on here. So I bought this, and why did she buy that? That's a weird thing to buy. Well, you know what why I bought it. Number one, it was like $25. I'll show it to you closer up. It's in great shape. It looks like this in the back. There's no issues with this. There's like tiny little marks, but there's really no loss. Let me show you close up, and then I'm going to tell you why I bought it. Oh, it's upside down. I'm sorry. It's a selection of flowers, right? Some are in different directions because this was a floor rug. That's a clue. And my colors aren't great, right? It's nighttime in here, and I've got light shining on it. But in person, the lights are quite pretty. They're very pretty flowers. The reason I bought this was because it was so inexpensive, and it reminded me of the important thing that we hardly ever talk about. If you have a hooked rug, or you encounter a hooked rug that has lots of problems, but you love the rug, you can cut it up and make it into smaller rugs, right? Just cut the parts that are okay and make them into smaller rugs and save them like this, right? For $28, I am going to hang this. It's a small thing to hang. Somebody saved this piece of what was obviously a much larger rug. And it's beautiful, it's colorful, it's cheerful, it's small, so there's lots of places where I could put it. Oh, Veronica, have a great weekend. Happy Easter, my friend. Happy Easter to you, too. I'll see you next week. We're going to be logging off in just a minute. But I just want to say, remember that this is a thing. When you see rugs or you're about to throw away a rug because it has a giant hole in it, think first, am I really at peace with letting go of this? Or can I cut part of it? Now, if you're saying, well, how do you cut it? Isn't it going to unravel? Let's make a video on that, because it will. But you still can do it safely, and you can shore it up, right, and close it before it really unravels. It can be done, and it has been done. And this is the other rug I bought. Like during that time when I was sitting on the floor with the rug with the dog that was machine stitched around the edges, and all of the rugs that I just showed you, I was sitting on the floor with them because the owner took a bunch out of the back for me and was laying them all out so I could see everything. This is one that he showed me as well. And you're going to say, why did she buy that rug? It's a commercial pattern. This isn't the kind of rug she buys. Well, it's not. And I'm going to be careful because this is an old rug, right? I'm absolutely sure this is a 19th century rug. It's super fragile, so hold on, wait a minute. I'm not doing well with the way I'm holding it. I forgot it was this big. Let me just show you from a distance, right? And I am going to mount this one for sure. I'm going to mount this one and make a video out of mounting it. It's a geometric, which I also don't like. There's a prominent square cross in the center. I just want to hold it this way. Sorry, I'm being so gingery here. Hold on. And I'm being careful on this corner because do you see, wait a minute, do you see that? Right, so I want to mount this thing. It's finished with the tape around the edges. Let me not touch that. I just want to show you close up. It is an old rug. It has a little bit of sort of marbly cake stuff in the background, more like Echo geometrics. The 4 different areas are 4 different flowers. And I really love the border in the red and white and gray. You know, I know it's not like the most amazing rug that anyone has ever seen, but out of all the rugs, hold on, I'm just going to put this down so carefully. Of all of the rugs that I saw on the floor there, I looked at them all and considered them all. This one that's a crop, I got that one upstairs, but at the same store. The one that I'm rolling up now that I just showed you, this has been used on the floor. I'm going to put it back in a plastic bag and put it in the freezer just in case. It was in the freezer, and I'm going to put it back in the freezer. But the thing about that rug, it's old, and it cost $28. They both cost $28. In fact, I think because it wasn't priced, and this one was $28, the one that was cut, and the guy called. They were 2 different dealers within the one shop, and he called the dealer, and he must have said to her, oh, she's got another one in her hand and it cost $28. So the dealer must have said, make it $28. Because I mean, how many rugs are $28, right? And at the same store. And I thought, I'm definitely not getting that rug. I don't need another old rug. And it needs to be mounted like immediately. And when he said $28, I was like, I went crazy. I was like, yeah, absolutely. Beautiful antique rug. I'm convinced it's a 19th century rug. I'm sure it is. It might be an original pattern. It's probably not. But, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. $28, right? So treasures can be had, and treasures are still there. I'm going to put this back in its double bag and put it into the freezer. I've got a big freezer. That was like an investment. It's like a $300 freezer, so that I can put stuff in there when I bring it home, right? So that we don't have problems with moths here. But what a wonderful trip it was, in part because it was wonderful and it was great to be with the family and all of that. But being the rotten little pig that I am, a huge part of the joy of this trip was seeing so many rugs and being able to take all of these pictures. And just memory museum, putting them into the memory museum. Now they're here on the show. You've seen them. I've seen them. We've clocked them. It might be that we need to refer to them or think of them, or maybe you sketched something during this time, or maybe you have trouble sleeping 6 months from now, God forbid, and you watch this episode again and you go, you know what? I love the border on that. I've been really stuck on a border, and you end up using one of the borders of one of the old rugs that we saw on the show today, right? At least it's recorded now. We weren't there together, sadly, but it was like you were there because every single rug that I saw on that trip, you've seen too. So, yeah, it's just fun to have the shared experience of documenting these together because it is important that we remember what they look like and we just keep talking about them because they relate to everything that we do and everything we will do. It's beautiful to see so many old rugs in like on one street, you know. I mean, hours. It was like over hours going through like many towns. But Route 1 in Maine, right? That's where you want to go to find all these great rugs. Dave says $28. I spend almost that much at the fancy coffee shop. Thank you. I know it, right? It's so true. It's like nothing. And I am going to mount that one. So I'll end up making a video. It definitely won't be this week, but I'll end up making a video where I build like a stretcher frame for it, and I'll stretch the material over it with the staple gun, and then I will attach that probably with tacks or nails right in between the loops, so it is permanently on there, and then it can be up on the wall. But I'm probably gonna leave it in the freezer for a week first, just to be sure. You know, it's not moth time. It's not like the moth that I saw was just waking up and like, ugh. But it's not. At least here, it's not moth time yet. But I'm not taking any chances with all of my wool sitting all over the place and all of my other rugs, right? Sure thing. It was fun to get together tonight. Thank you for walking me through the disastrous beginning when nothing worked and I was losing it. And I'm sorry if you heard me say bad words in one of the other streams. I've got to delete all the other streams, but thank you for sticking with me because I'm in a much better mood now. I'm ready to go work on my project and I'll be able to sleep well because I had fun, and I thank you for that. So, fun night together. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter to you too. I can't wait. Tomorrow we're headed back to my mom's house where my sister and her husband will be. And oh, you know what we're going to do this year? Teddy, are you sitting right there? No. Um, you know, they don't like to do the Easter egg hunts anymore. And, well, Jossie does, but Teddy thinks he doesn't. So, instead of making them wake up on Sunday morning, as we did last year, when they do not want to get out of bed, and then they go out in the cold with the basket, you know, and it's just, instead, my sister came up with this idea. She said, why don't we put the Easter bunny costume on at night and have like lights glowing behind his eyes, and he'll come up to the glass doors where the kids sit in my mom's house, and he'll come to the window with his eyes glowing, and then and then he'll run off, right? Like there's something wrong. And then when they look out, I got all those glow in the dark eggs hidden in the bushes. So she calls him Disco Rabbit. Like that's a nice name for him, right? Because he's really going to do some damage, like, you know. But it's going to be a great moment. Disco Rabbit's going to come and frighten the kids, and then they can go outside and find all of the Easter eggs glowing in the dark in the bushes at night. Who doesn't want to go on a nighttime Easter hunt, right? So we'll see how that works out. I will let you know how many. I'm going to pack some extra underpants, but we'll see how that works out. I told you about the nighttime Easter egg hunt, but I don't think I told you about the glowing eyes. We've got that all sussed out too, right? The discs, the glowing discs. So we'll see how that goes. Should be a happy weekend. It's great to see everybody. Happy Easter to you all too. If you are celebrating, if you're not, happy weekend in general, right? Happy spring weekend. I'll be back with you on Monday because I want to look at that Winifred Nicholson book together. And it was on pre-order, I want to say, for like almost a year, and it finally came. It was late. The printing was late. It finally came. It is absolutely beautiful. I'll see if I can get in touch with the author over the weekend. It's a tough weekend for that, but I'm going to look at that book with you on Monday. So we really have something to look forward to. That's going to be an amazing episode. It might actually be 2 episodes. Happy Easter, everybody. Have a great weekend. I will see you same time as always on Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in the meantime, be safe, enjoy, and I will catch up with you on Monday.